Welcome to my SEN post-placement research presentation, where I take you through my experience of working with a student with special educational needs. In this presentation, I will introduce student X, outline his learning difficulties, and walk you through some of the turning points I documented during my teaching practice in Castletroy College, Limerick. Castletroy College is a large school with over 1,200 students, and it caters to a wide spectrum of needs. The school provides special tuition and resource classes for SEN students. The school has a strong support system in place and often utilises technology such as Chromebooks and tablets to meet the learning needs of their students. The school is also very thorough in their tracking and documentation of SEN student progress. They utilise the use of Google Drive to provide access for all teachers in the school to a detailed student profile. The profile typically outlines student behaviour, talents, interests, priorities and concerns, student targets, strategies to help teach the student, and any medical concerns or issues. Meet Student X. Student X does not have any specific diagnosis of any learning difficulty, but instead presents with mild ADHD and dyslexic tendencies. This is evident in his behaviour and ability to concentrate and comprehend written information. Some of the ADHD-related characteristics that I noted were student X's inability to concentrate, distractibility, lack of organisation, hyperactivity, and tendency to lose homework. The characteristics often associated with dyslexia that student X was displaying included better oral than written skills, procrastination with writing tasks, more difficulty in language-based subjects, and poor time management. Having access to this student profile was very useful in helping me identify strategies to meet the learning needs of student X. The main points I took from this profile was student X's lack of organisation, multiple detentions indicating behavioural issues. His exemption from languages was an early indicator of comprehension issues, and I could see that he had availed of team teaching and SNA support in the past. While the profile outlined a lot of challenges and issues, it also outlined student X's strengths and interests. It was noted that student X is artistic, imaginative, a good oral communicator, and engages well in special tuition. This point about engagement had me wondering if student X preferred the intimacy of working in smaller groups. And through working with him, I learned that this was the case. It was also nice to see his interests including chess, coding, drawing, and rugby. From the student profile provided by the school, I was able to extract some advised teaching strategies. It was advised to make a point of using keywords, using graphics, mind maps and brainstorms, utilise project work, expose student X to a wide range of texts, and challenge student X to succeed and produce quality work. Through my own research, I learned some key teaching strategies to help me teach student X. These included providing choice, good visuals, chunking material, being clear and direct. To combat his difficulty with comprehension, I learned that the use of multisensory teaching methods such as audio, video, demonstration and modelling can be very useful. It is also important to remember to be very careful with how you present worksheets. Make sure that there are strong visuals. A simple but effective point to remember is to reward or acknowledge the student's efforts. Being clear and direct became an important part of my practice. I often found myself working one-to-one with student X to help him break down the information that had just been relayed to the class. I began to research this idea and discovered that chunking was the name of this method. Graham D. Bodie writes about the topic in his article Chunking, Priming and Active Learning toward an innovative and blended approach to teaching communication-related skills. He wrote that if given a method of chunking information into useful categories, communicators should be able to build a knowledge base of skills and ultimately be able to access this information to make decisions about what type of skill they need to use in a given situation. In other words, by breaking down tasks into simple and clear categories, the student is more able to access information and apply it to their work. It became evident in week 2 that I needed to be very clear and precise about instruction and also provide better scaffolding to help student X develop his ability to discuss his work. As shown here in this slogan making worksheet, we see that student X misunderstands the questions from the very start. When asked, "What is a slogan?" student X writes down the only slogan found in the visuals rather than writing down what the class had learned during the lesson. There is evidence that student X wants to write down the correct answers as he underlines the key word instructing him to circle his answer. It seems that the lesson on target markets and language seem lost on him, as he explains that Rice Krispies are a cereal marketed to doctors because they are healthy enough. Student X continues to discuss Rice Krispies rather than Irish Seed Savers and comes up with a new slogan for the cereal brand rather than generating his own ideas for Irish Seed Savers. I found that this exercise was a very good turning point for myself in terms of teaching strategies. From this worksheet, I deducted that student X's ability to comprehend needed attention. Student X showed creative ability in his slogan making, but for the wrong subject matter. This difficulty with words was evident in all aspects of student X's work, including his sketchbook. In each lesson, I made a specific effort to ensure that student X received clarification of material and that tasks were broken down into smaller goals. I also provided a handout designed to categorize vocabulary by providing useful tools such as sentence starters. Student X was able to utilize this handout orally when I prompted discussion about his work. The handout was a tool that helped student X expand his vocabulary and discuss his process. My second critical turning point involves Shinkalay as a means of differentiation. There were a number of contributing factors that led me to differentiate through Shinkalay. The first of these was time. Student X's ability to manage time had me predicting that he would not have enough time to do a 3-colour reduction print. Secondly, I felt that student X was becoming more and more disinterested in the cutting aspect of the project and would often distract other students around him out of boredom. Setting him a challenge would regain his interest. The third of these is peer learning. Student X is popular with his classmates. By involving student X in the demonstration of this niche skill, I aimed to build his confidence with printmaking while also teaching the rest of the class Shinkalay. I found it really interesting to note how student X worked independently during this time and how his distracting behaviour had decreased dramatically. I found this experience of working with student X to be very beneficial and educational for myself and my own future practice. I learned about adapting my teaching to meet the needs of a student with subtle learning difficulties by analysing the student's characteristics and applying researched methods to increase the student's ability to learn. I believe I became more conscious of how I deliver my lessons and how well students receive information. I think one of the most beneficial things I learned from this experience was that differentiation can be a gateway of opportunity for the entire class, not just the student in question. By opening the floor for student X to teach his classmates a thing or two about Shinkalay, everyone benefited and a lot more interesting prints were made because of it.